It's a lot harder to sell right now. But if an organization is going to embrace MEDDPICC and they're going to really understand a customer's metrics, top priority business metrics, and if you can really understand an economic buyer's top metrics, work with me here, then guess what? They will find money. They will find money to fund their top initiative. And so that's an example of a tip that is part of MEDDPICC that is going to help you. Hello and welcome. We are here to talk about making your number with MEDDPICC in 2023. What a hot topic, especially now. My name is Eli Cohen, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of SalesHood. And I'm here with three amazing colleagues. I'm going to have each person just say hello. Deb, John, Larissa, please just introduce yourselves quickly.
Yeah, I'll go first. It's Deb Sherba. Nice to see everyone. I'm excited to be here to talk to you about, I'm a MEDDPICC coach. I'm partnered with SalesHood and excited about today's conversation. And I'm coming to you from Canada, where we're having a big snowstorm right now.
Woohoo! Oh, Canada. John.
Yeah. Sorry to hear you're from Canada, Deb. But I'm John Guerriere. I'm a global director of enablement at Copado, and I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. If you don't know Copado, we are a DevOps platform, agile software development type platform. And we've been using MEDDPICC to great success and excited to share some of that today.
Amazing. Thank you, John. And Larissa, please say hello.
Hi, coming to you from Philadelphia. Excited to be here. I'll be helping to facilitate the chat and Q&A. So bring your questions, put them in the chat to everyone, or use the Q&A box. And it's going to be a great webinar.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we asked John and Deb to join us today. Larissa and I did, because MEDDPICC, depending on what acronym you're using, is a very hot topic today. And many companies, especially in the technology sector, have embraced it and or are trying to embrace it and trying to train their teams and trying to reinforce their teams. And so John is a longtime practitioner and a seasoned executive, and in the enablement space. I've had the amazing pleasure of collaborating with John over the last, it's almost a year, but not quite a year. It's been since June 21, and it's been a treat and really remarkable what he and his team and the Copado leadership team have been able to accomplish in the last 2 to 3 quarters by really leaning in to best practices in enablement, MEDDPICC, and doing it the right way. So we have a lot to learn from John. And so John, again, thank you so much for being here. And I know that you are heads down on SCO right now on your RKO and on your kickoff. So appreciate you taking the time to join us. And Deb Sherpa and I have known each other for a long time, way back in the Salesforce days. She's also a former sales hoodie. She had worked at SalesHood and been in enablement for a long time, and really an amazing practitioner, and has made a decision after, she's also certified with command of the message and all that force management stuff. But she made the decision that she's going to, embark on her own, and she started her own consulting practice to enable organizations to really get the benefits of MEDDPICC. And so we think we have an amazing group here of folks who are going to tell their stories. And before we dig in, I'm going to take a couple minutes and just, why MEDDPICC? And why now? And first and foremost, I will just say, this isn't, methodology is something that an organization should select. And so if you're not a MEDDPICC user, it's okay. You can take all the lessons that we're going to share with you, the tips, the manager coaching tips, the Salesforce reinforcement tips, the training and reinforcement tips and guidance that we're going to walk you through. And you could truly apply any methodology to it. MEDDPICC works. It's easy to remember. And so why MEDDPICC and why methodology? First and foremost, I believe that MEDDPICC is a fabulous way to get an organization aligned around a common language. Really important. And it's great, especially when you're in a complex team selling environment, getting your teams to be aligned on a common language. And MEDDPICC is great, right? Metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, paper process, or procurement process, depending on what word you use, implications of pain, and then champion and competition, right? Those are some fundamental terms in B2B SaaS selling. And so getting your teams aligned around a common language is so critical. So when you're doing your deal reviews and you're doing your account reviews and you're talking about, and you're trying to help each other, and do we really have an economic buyer? And who's our champion? Are they really a champion? Or are they a coach? This is a great way and a great language. And I know John's going to go into many more details here. MEDDPICC/MEDDICC is a great qualification tool. It's a great way to know how real the deal is and how aligned are you with the buying committee inside of an organization, and which ultimately is going to feed into better forecasting. And one small little thing, I've been thinking a lot about MEDDPICC over the last few quarters, and why now, right? Why is MEDDPICC even more important right now? I'm going to give you an example. You know, budgets are tight. Budgets are really tight now. The buying committee has been expanded. We understand what's happening. You know, deal cycles are shortening. Deal cycles are getting longer. Decisions are moving to like lost or no decision. So it's a lot harder to sell right now. But if an organization is going to embrace MEDDPICC and they're going to really understand a customer's metrics, top priority business metrics, and if you can really understand an economic buyer's top metrics, work with me here, then guess what? They will find money. They will find money to fund their top initiative. And so that's an example of a tip that is part of MEDDPICC that is going to help you. We as a company, last point, and then John has to tell a story because it's incredible. We as a company have invested in MEDDPICC because most of our customers have asked us to create a turnkey library. So over the summer, we created a complete end-to-end MEDDPICC library with coaching huddles, training, guide, about 30 coaching videos, and you know, training programs and guides and sales tools. And we're going to talk about all that. We did that to enable companies to train and reinforce their teams in record-breaking speed. We're talking about getting a global organization aligned on what MEDDPICC means in days and weeks versus quarters and years. And so that's it. This is why we believe in it, and we've invested a lot in it, and we're here to support each and every one of you as you're embarking on your journey. So that was a little bit about the why and a little bit of why we're here. And really, I want to, you know, turn the podium, the virtual podium, over to John, because, you know, John, you've got such an incredible story. You've accomplished so much with the Copado team, and we're grateful to be a part of your journey and to be able to support you in your pursuits at Copado. So I know it's Feb 2, so we're at the end of your fiscal, and just please tell us a little bit about you and your journey at Copado, and take it away.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Eli. Yeah, so I'll start with a little background. So I've been in the custom software development and the IT space for 30 years, and actually came up through the ranks through sales leadership and marketing leadership, and now I'm in the enablement role. And so we're going through a cycle. A lot of us have seen this before, and I think the work that we started to do, you know, months ago is kind of what set the stage for the story I'm going to tell real quick right now. As Eli said, yeah, here we are at Sep 2nd. We have our SCO next week out in Vegas. We just closed our fiscal year January 31st, so back on Tuesday. So you know, that's an all hands on deck, and you know, you're struggling for every single deal. So we had the largest single day in the history of the company on Tuesday. So we closed more deals on Tuesday than we did before. And you wouldn't expect that to happen, especially in this space. We all know what's going on in the little air pocket that we're flying over right now. But what we started to notice a few months ago was that deals that used to require a VP now are requiring a CIO or even a business unit head to get sign off on. So the good thing is we identified this very early. And by focusing on that economic buyer and really understanding the pain and what the right metrics were, we were able to put together a really clear value prop that was plain spoken and really in their language, right? The stuff that those business stakeholders cared about. So working with MEDDPICC and also the selling through curiosity training that we did with Eli and the team really helped us flush this out much earlier. We're engaging those people much earlier in the process, and working with a champion, we got to those folks. We understood what was important to them. We were able to really create the compelling events, and we got our deals done on Tuesday. And this includes, having those champions and those economic buyers chase down people internally, getting the attorneys on the phone, working through procurement, doing all the things that need to happen to get that button clicked on a DocuSign. And it got done. I mean, you can imagine we all woke up Wednesday morning like, oh, wow, I should go to bed more often because good things happen when you get a good night's sleep. So yeah, anyway, so it's a terrific success. And the partnership working with Eli and your team has been absolutely tremendous. So wonderful. And thank you for that.
Congratulations on finishing the quarter strong. You're going to have a fabulous celebration next week at your kickoff. I'm sure. I can't wait to be there with you. So tell us about the journey.
Yeah. Okay. So like probably everyone out there, you have people in your teams, yourself probably as well, that you might have used this in a prior life or you've been exposed to it in some capacity. And it's really not that hard, right? It's not rocket science, right? It takes some time, takes some dedication, but the concepts sometimes can be elusive as far as how do you actually implement it. So what we started off initially was, we people got some books, people read some blogs, we had some people internally that had some experience with it. And really what that led to was an executive level decision that, we need to invest in this. And we need to really have a disciplined approach to just with the adoption. And so that's actually when, Eli, we engaged you and your team and kind of had a nice 90-day kind of implementation plan where it started just getting people familiar with the vocabulary and kind of what this framework is. We all know what these words are, but what do they actually mean in the context of a deal? And then how to use that framework to properly inspect a deal. And again, we all get training like this, where you watch a bunch of videos and it's one-way information. And that was very helpful. And what was really useful is to have the transparency and seeing which team members were going through the training, what they were participating in those exercises, but then really starting to do the deal reviews, taking live deals and doing deal reviews with them, applying the framework, and just seeing how people start to realize, oh, wow, now I understand what we're talking about. Now I know what I don't know. And the thing it really did for us was it let us identify kind of where those red flags were very, very early on, which let us just be proactive and go out and address them and not just go into the end of the quarter with happy ears that things are going to close. It really forces, when I really like it, it forces that individual to be a lot more non-emotional, a lot more clinical in understanding and to truly know where they stand on a deal. And it took several cycles to get there. I like to say, and I say this all the time, each time we do a deal review, it's probably gonna be the worst one that we do, right? Which is good news, right? Because you're getting better, right? So the next one's gonna be even better. So it's continuous learning and we get more comfortable with it. And it's become like the standard now internally for the teams.
I have a question. So I love it, by the way. Congrats. So 90-day and maybe tell us go a little deeper on the 90 days, because I think folks need to appreciate. Tell us a little bit about, what the 90 days look like and who was involved. Like what teams did you enable? I think give us some color around that. That would be really useful.
Right. Yeah. And I think to set the stage for that, what was important internally was that our CRO was 100% bought into this. So we had the proper executive sponsorship from it. And the charter was clear. We want accuracy and forecasting, right? We want to be able to forecast accurately. That's all we needed to know, right? And so that set the stage. And so the process was we got together with the regional leadership, with sales leadership, had an initial kickoff with the entire team, and I don't want to forget, and sales ops. Your sales ops team has to be tightly integrated with this, so you can kind of bake this into those processes. And we realistically set expectations out of the gate. This was critical. So we have the team kickoff, we have expectations set. There's no magic here. There's no silver bullet, but we're going to go on a journey and we're going to learn new things, or we're going to learn the same things, but they're kind of being applied in a more structured way. And so people went through the modules, through the MEDDPICC modules in the SalesHood platform, and they did that individual learning. They did the exercises that were attached to real deals, by the way, that they had, so it was real. So it took it from I'm learning something to I'm applying it in my real day-to-day job, which right away helped make things stick. Then we got with the RVPs. And we did deal reviews and we looked at those deals. And just by going through that process, and Eli, you helped coach on some of those.
Yeah.
Having somebody, an experienced coach, ask those questions, it helps both the RVPs kind of learn how to do a proper deal inspection, but also the AEs, the things they need to be thinking about for their next call and how they plan out the discovery and what they're going to do on that call and the information they really need to have to make a knowledge-based forecast, not kind of a gut level forecast.
Great. And so I heard you say, first of all, really important, executive alignment. You had CRO and CFO and CEO, which is a sign of the time today, right? If your CEO, CFO, and CRO aren't aligned around what you're trying to accomplish as an enablement leader, you're not going to get the support. You're not going to be able to have the impact. And so like, you're kind of close to the sun. How does that feel to be so close to the sun, so to speak?
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely great. The last thing I want to do is be trying to get a bunch of account executives to adopt new behavior that their bosses aren't aligned with, because you're just kind of what you're viewed as kind of just using up their time, as opposed to working with from like you said, from the CEO to the CRO all the way through the organization down. Where no, this is how we do things here. This is how we're going to run the business, and this is what the expectations are. And it's in everyone's best interest because you will close more deals. You will have a better chance of making plan. You'll make more money if you follow this. We know it works, right? But without that leadership support, I would have been very reluctant to actually step headlong into this.
Yeah. So you got executive level support, which is critical. And then let's talk about the groups, right? So I think I heard you say RVPs. So clearly the RVPs need to be aligned. What are all the groups that went through the skills training along with the MEDDPICC training?
Yeah, so from all that, we had our BDR team, we had our product marketing team, we had some folks on the demand gen team, all the account executives from both the enterprise business and the commercial business.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the management as well.
And then I'm sorry.
We have a question.
Sure.
Pam is asking you to talk more about sales ops involvement.
Yes, yeah, great. So I say I'm lucky that we have an amazing sales ops team, and they're very process driven and very data driven. And they were all over this saying, hey, how can we bake this into our CRM? Our CRM is Salesforce. And so they were very easy to work with and collaborative about kind of making changes to stages, adding additional fields. We added a whole approach to scoring kind of each stage of the MEDDPICC framework and being very proactive in using that to start getting some analytics around it. So I couldn't have asked for a better partner on our sales ops team for that.
Yeah.
We have sort of a related follow-up question since you mentioned Salesforce. Katie says that they include MEDDPICC in their Salesforce pages, but should any steps be required or conditional?
Yeah, so this, of course, is probably a perpetual back and forth. You have some people who say, let's make everything required. And other people say, there's too many required fields. It's too hard to update an op. So we started off with everything very lightweight, where we have all the fields in there, we have the scores. And even now, we haven't made it required from a system standpoint. And we're kind of relying on those opportunity reviews and some reporting to just give us insights into hygiene to make sure that there's compliance. But I think into next year, probably starting around Q2, looking at sales stages, we'll probably start to see if we make things required. But that's something that we're being sensitive to not make the system kind of a big, like, cumbersome beast that they're kind of trying to manage.
Yeah. Let me add a comment. I see there's some more questions on the stages. I just want to make sure that we're covering this point because I want to make sure folks have a sense of the scope of participation across the organization. So we got the C-level, and the C-level were actually there when you did the leadership training. And then you've got the RVPs, VPs, SVPs, you've got AEs, BDRs. By the way, I love that you had marketing and demand gen, and they're all bought in on this. And I know, Deb, you probably have a point of view as well when it comes to incorporating BDRs and sales development folks, given your background. So you should add a comment there in a sec. But then also your renewals and your account managers are also part of the process. And I think what I remember when I spoke to one of your renewal leaders, she said they were able to predict that the renewals were going to happen faster. right? So did I miss anyone in your scope of people that went through it? I'm trying to
No,
think.
yeah, I forgot the renewals team. So yeah, I'm glad you called that out. And actually, we had our success folks as well in there.
And the success folks as well. Deb, anything to add when you're thinking about training and you want to include everyone in the organization? What would you add?
Yeah, I think that's a good point about, because that's the question I get most is should we add the SRs or the BDRs? And the answer is absolutely yes. Will they be scoring opportunities MEDDPICC style? Probably not. That they're not having that deep conversation, but talking about the same language and making sure that everybody is on that same language, you have to invite them. And if your hiring pool is your SRs or your BDRs, absolutely have them so that
You want to
they
get
know
them
what
a head start.
Yeah. Get them ready. And when they're building opportunities, it's important for them to know that the different elements in MEDDPICC so that they're looking out for them as well, right, in their notes. So absolutely.
So I love it. I love it. Thank you, Deb. And John, John, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the before and after in terms of some of the observations that you've had in the behavior of the organization and the effectiveness of the organization.
Yep.
And you want to add some comments?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is an ongoing journey, right? So this is not a step function. You don't get there overnight. But we have a very, very, very technical product. Anyone who understands software development, you get a lot of stuff that we do. Business people have no idea what it is. They just know it's software and it doesn't work. That's the extent of it. So our DNA is very technical. And so what this really helped us do, both the MEDDPICC framework, but also Selling Through Curiosity, was give us the tools to actually take what we know, but translate it into business speak. And make us comfortable, make the teams comfortable to, take the meeting, go to the economic buyer, not just stop short, which everyone does. Say, well, I got the VP of IT here. I got the VP of business apps, and they told me they have budget, and you just stop there. And that generally would work before this period where we have to get higher up. But the good news for us is we already had the team enabled on that.
Yeah.
So they were very comfortable taking it to the next level and making the connection to the business outcome. So you got this complex technical stuff we're doing. We help improve effectiveness of software delivery so you can make those changes, get them to release production more quickly. But so what? Why should a business person want to pay for that? They need to understand, and we need to walk them through the story. And it really made our team comfortable doing that context shift and taking the technical solution and kind of really bring it up to the business message with metrics, with relevant metrics around it, not fluffy marketing metrics, like real things from their organization that when the business person sees it, says, yes, that's what we need. We're willing to pay for that.
Yeah. So just, I'm going to just do a time check and amazing conversation so far. And for those that are listening live or listening to a replay, we're going to go a little deeper. I want to actually show you, I'm going to show you what the library looks like. So that way you can see how John and Copado were able to move so fast and in such a short period of time, get everyone aligned. Deb is also going to explain a best practice implementation framework, how to think about rolling this out, because I think we got to get beyond the metrics are important and all that, but we got to also show you how you can get there fast. So we're going to get there. But before we go there, I do want to talk about some of the improvements you've noticed in your business, John. And so those are the three things we're going to cover. John's going to talk about some of the impacts of the business beyond the last day of the month. We're going to show you. And so Larissa, I'm seeing a lot of questions. Are there any questions you want to introduce right now at this point?
Someone asked to talk more about the training for leaders. When and how did you do that?
Good. That's a great question. And I think both John and Deb have some comments on that. John, you want to start? How did you enable your leaders to embrace kind of this new way of selling and really managing their deals in their business?
Yeah, and so the way we did the leadership training was they went through the same courses that everyone else did, but then we ran separate sessions where we did we took the different territory leaders with their teams. And with the entire team on the call, we did real live opportunity reviews. So they pulled up their op, they pulled up Salesforce, and they walked us through the solution. And Eli facilitated those conversations. And that was the part to really get the managers to see, it's learning by doing. So they're seeing firsthand how to do it. And we did that across the teams, and we've had some reinforcement sessions as well, and other future ones planned.
And John, the other thing that we did, it's amazing how much we accomplished. And listen, folks, I got involved personally because I know the CEO, I know the CRO, John and I were collaborating. And so it really enabled us to apply the best practices and the strategy and the guidance that Copado asked for so we can really accelerate. And John, it's you plus one on your team, right? So it's not like you've got a team of 20 people. So let's just kind of celebrate that for a moment. You are a team, it's you plus Creighton, great team, amazing team. John, the other thing we did was when we went live with the leaders first, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the best practice of having the managers go first. So we brought the managers together for a day and a half session to get them to embrace the curiosity framework, the MEDDPICC framework, and to get them excited about the training that was going to roll out, and then all the training happened virtually. I think that was right. Did I miss anything there?
No, you got it. Well, right. So the training happened virtually. We did have those sessions with the managers to get them aligned.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of we pulled into here, I think the STC training, the self curiosity was really important for us. And it was not so much as the specifics of STC, but how the training is delivered, the type of exercises they have to do, where they actually have to do it. They have to take the pitch, give the pitch, practice the objection handling, practice the questioning. But the other part that got the whole organization to start to fundamentally understand what we're talking about was doing the pitch certifications, having everyone in the company go through and do that pitch certification, record themselves on video, submit their pitch, have their manager review it. That created an operating rhythm that's, this is how we're going to actually start learning and doing enablement going forward. That was critical to really getting that escape velocity.
And folks, that was like, July, August, right? We moved so fast. Hey, Deb, what would you add when we talk about leadership management training? What would you add?
Yeah, I coincidentally enough, I just kicked off a big company yesterday, and we're putting 100 of their managers through this first. I'll show you what the program looks like, because we did it a little bit more in bite-sized pieces and spread out over several weeks. But I love that the CRO over there really wants to enforce this, so he put his leaders in first, and they attended, and they all brought live opportunities from their teams with them to go in and score, which I'll talk about in a second as well. So I love the manager first aspect of it.
So critical and so critical, and they want it, and they want it, and they want to be enabled. They want to be developed. So John, let's dive in. I'm curious if you can now quantify some of the impacts that you observed in Q3 and in Q4 as you were rolling this out, as your teams were embracing kind of the new way to sell, as they were going through the training in SalesHood. What were some of the impacts that you saw in the business?
Yeah. So I'll start with some stuff that might be more kind of qualitative and anecdotal, but just reviewing calls and Gong, right? So just when we start rolling out the training, right, we created Gong scorecards. We had quotas for everybody, for managers that had to review calls. I review calls, our CEO reviews calls, everyone's reviewing calls and Gong. But right away, you start hearing people saying things like, oh, that's interesting. What is the impact of that, right? Really asking good, very open-ended questions. And the thing is, you see it. You see the result of it. One example that I just use internally is a shout out for one of our more junior reps. SE went through a demo, finished, had some crickets. And the SE said, so do you have any questions? Their flows ended. They said, no. The AE comes in behind. We just finished the training. Said, well, what are your thoughts on that? And it just opened up, and they just started talking. So that was great. So we see that all over the place in the behavioral changes in Gong. But then it comes down to, okay, but what really matters are the numbers. And we saw, I can't give the exact numbers, but we saw a material improvement in both our close rates and our ASPs went up, right? And so that was because we were getting more clear on what the problems were. We were more clear on what the right solution was, and we were able to articulate and quantify a much more meaningful value proposition to a broader set of stakeholders within the organization.
Really, I'm just applauding you. I'm impressed. You know what? In a really tough market, in a really tough economy, and really glad to see the Q4 ended the way it did. And I know we can't share the numbers, but I think listen, talk time improvements, win rate improvements, average selling price improvements. And then the other one that I think is interesting is participation rates. The most number of reps had closed deals across, right? So as the world shifts from capacity to efficiency, and how do we get more of our sales teams contributing and closing deals? I think that was another benefit as well that your organization had, like, which is really, really amazing. You should be so proud of you and your team. So how do you feel?
Yeah, no, I feel great. And the thing is, we've got, the nice thing is, I think the hard work was done. That was getting momentum. Now we get to go into next year, and it's really about refinement and kind of refining and scaling a little more. But we've got the escape velocity now. So now it's just building on that positive momentum, which is, I would much rather be here than where I was 6 months ago. Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So that's like the one thing when everyone asks is, the most important thing is to start. You just have to start. It's so easy to talk about this stuff. It's so easy to kind of get stuck on planning. Find a way to start, because I'm just so glad we are where we are right now.
No, it's great. I really, really grateful for you for sharing. I'm noticing some other questions. Can you share the implementation plan? Deb's going to talk about the implementation. I think she's been able to take some of the best practices from Copado and some of our other customers, and she's got an amazing slide that she's going to show in a minute. I'd like to do one thing if I can, John and Deb, and let me know if you think it's the right thing to do. I just want to show people what the library looks like. And do you think, just so people understand what this is in SalesHood?
Yes. And I'm not speaking, I don't work for SalesHood. I'm a big fan, but what I like about SalesHood is all of our AEs, like, this is a tool we actually care about. They'd like to use it. You know, we've tried everything else, right? But this is, I love it because it's like that cereal commercial, right?
Right. Mikey likes it.
Yeah, Mikey likes it. Mikey likes it. So let's keep using more of it. Right.
No, I appreciate it. So I'm going to do a quick, I want folks to see the turnkey end-to-end MEDDPICC library that is in here, so that way folks can understand how it works. So let me get in and let me go in. So I am, so I'm logged in. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So everybody, this is SalesHood, and we're going to do, Deb, 3-minute demo, and I'm going to pass it on to you afterwards, because I think folks are really curious about the implementation. And, you know, the way SalesHood is organized is everything is mobile enabled as well. And so what we did, and SalesHood is a platform that enables organizations to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of their teams. And it's amazing, right? We support training and certification. We support coaching. We also enable organizations to guide their sellers with just-in-time content. And then you can also engage your customers and buyers. But I'm going to go very, very specific right now, right? Because it's purpose-built. This thing was designed, for those of you that are seeing SalesHood for the first time, just know that this is purpose-built to help organizations solve revenue problems, just like John articulated. And so with MEDDPICC, what we did was, you can see here, we created a MEDDPICC folder in our content marketplace. And you can see that we've got metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, 30 bite-sized videos, right? You're going to see a lot of me right now, but there is a lot of videos that will enable you to really take MEDDPICC and make it your own. There are also assets like deal review templates, competitive battle card templates. And if I just look at one of these, let's go look at metrics. And so what we did was we studied, we really went deep on how an organization can apply MEDDPICC to their business. And for every letter, we introduce a coaching huddle, so that way you can actually train your teams. And then there's a definition video. And then you can see here, there's a video on meeting prep. And then there are exercises, share meeting examples. And so what we're doing is we're trying to create this energy where you can train your people, have them watch some videos and do exercises. And you can see how it works, right? There are bite-sized videos, you know, on every one of the topics. It's all been organized, turnkey for you. And then here are exercises where your team are able to submit answers. And then that's how you can get to peer-to-peer. Folks can learn asynchronously. And so that's it. And you know, the beautiful thing is with the MEDDPICC library, if you have it in a system like SalesHood, you're able to then correlate it to some of the metrics like win rates, pipeline created, and you can even correlate it to other data in other systems like Gong, and that way you can pull in conversation intelligence. I wanted to just do a quick review for those of you that are less familiar with SalesHood, so you can see it. For those of you that are customers on the call, you can go to the marketplace and you can actually grab the metrics one and you can see it live in your system right now. We're giving you a trial that you can test. And so that was it. I hope that was okay, Larissa. I wanted to do just a quick walk through, because Deb is going to talk through the implementation plan, and to see how it's organized, I think sets this up well. And, you know, Deb, people are really curious about how they get started implementation. So take it away.
And before
sure.
before Deb jumps in, Deb,
Oh.
if you don't mind, there's one comment in here that it's actually, we went through the cycle where someone put in here about creating a folder in Gong or conversation intelligence of like those good wins and good situations that happened. And we had done that. And it was great. And we'd point people to it and, you know, go consume these. But then we went from there to the deal wins in SalesHood, which is amazing. Reps they'll actually do this. So there's an app on the device. There's a template that walks them through how to tell the story, and they just record themselves and they tell the story. And that what I was so impressed by is that willingness to do it on one hand, because it's easy to do, but also the amount of consumption there is, because it's like, hey, this is like a story by an AE for an AE. And it just let people get those lessons learned and those tips directly from those other E's. And it's been something that's been very popular with our team.
Well, yeah, I got to just do it for a moment, just so folks understand, you know, this is how easy it is. You go in and you can record a story, cancel. And then you can go in and you record a deal win, which is pretty amazing. And then what you have the questions here. And so what John did was he customized the questions that they are relevant to Copado, and then they're also reinforcing MEDDPICC. And so you can see here, you can get your teams to share their win stories in a very structured way. It's the ultimate in user-generated content, and it's the most consumed. So I went over my 2-minute demo. I'm sorry.
One other thing is marketing loves harvesting those for potential case studies too.
So great. It's so true. Thank you, John, for calling that out. That was a great ad. All right, Deb. So how do people get successful?
Yes, sure. So I put a lot of thought into this before I built the program, because, you know, just especially with time right now, and I wanted to make something that was really easy, like super easy to implement. So I think I came up with something that customers are already loving and purchasing, but it's going to be a combination. So this is what it looks like, and let me walk you through this. It's really a combination of the self-paced learning that Eli just showed you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give that to them as pre-work. And then I've set up 5 live coaching sessions here, you can see. So pre-work in SalesHood, learn it on your own, self-paced, do the exercises, then jump on with me. We can schedule these sessions out, all 5 of them, you know, 5 days in a row. It's very flexible. You can schedule them once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever you like. But what we've done is taken 2 of the elements. So yesterday, I did the session with the managers. We covered metrics. We went deeper with metrics. We went deeper with economic buyer. And then we actually had them bring opportunities in, and they went into breakout rooms and scored each other's opportunities. Not just the scoring aspect, but where are the gaps? And how can we work, you know, let's talk about how we can fill those gaps. And so it went really well. Again, it was all managers, and they were really the conversations. We went long. These sessions are supposed to be about an hour, a little bit, but I think I'm actually going to, depending on the size of the organization, we're going to, keep them, maybe move them to an hour and a half. But they're bite-sized, and everyone can fit an hour and a half in their day. Yeah. We're not pulling everybody into a room for 2 days where, in the afternoon, they don't even know what their name is. We're doing it in bite-sized pieces. So I like it. We are adding a seller or a certification badge to it, which really adds credibility or accountability. But also, people are excited about the badge because MEDDPICC is a well-known name, and it's going to go right on their LinkedIn profile once they complete the course. So it's 4 days for sellers, and then I hang the managers back for an extra day, you know, in cases where we do sellers and managers, and then we spend some time on best practices and how to coach opportunities the right way. So it seems to be really working. Bite-sized content. We've got the certification badge for accountability. We have executive line support and buy-in, which is crucial. If you don't have that, you know, it's going to be really difficult for this to stick. And then we've got a great go live plan, which will get you up and running very quickly. And then, of course, we're going to measure some metrics before and afterwards to see how successful it is. So far, so good, bite-sized,
Wow.
and great learning. Yeah.
Hey, Deb, this is phenomenal. You can look at the chat. It's lighting up right now. Everyone loves the layout. They love the bite-sized nature of this. John added a comment as well. I think it's really important to highlight that the combination of the library, so that way you've got some of the foundation with the best practice proven content, the buy-in from leaders, so folks are going to go through some of the work ahead of time, and then this beautiful organization, so you can kind of drip this in to your teams with a letter per day, you know, a letter, you know, whatever the time is just phenomenal, and it's genius. So great work. John, what would you add here?
Yeah, well, no, I think this bite-sized chunks cannot get overstated. Humans just don't learn in these big, heavy chunks, especially when you're an adult human, right? It just doesn't work. And by breaking it down, they get to learn a little bit, they get to apply it, and then they learn a little bit and they apply it, and it actually sticks and the retention's there, and they're not resistant to doing it. It's not like, oh, I got to block out 4 hours today for training, right? They do it in small little chunks. It's very important.
Amazing. So I love this layout. Let's keep this up, because session 1, session 2. And so you said days, but you said they're 75, 90-minute sessions, right?
Yeah, and what we're doing is we had a large group. We have 100 managers, so I decided to do it in 3 cohorts, a little bit more time, but you know, a nice size group, so that I like to interact with when I'm training. So yeah, they are scheduling them 1 a week, and we've got them all. You know, they go right up until April. So April 2nd, I think, is the date. All 100 managers are done, and then we'll start working with the sellers.
Great.
And again,
Great.
Yesterday's session was well attended. It was people, you know, managers were talking and discussing, and it was fantastic. I think because they're not angry when they get there, you know, it's an hour and a half of their day, and they know it's going to help them save time in the end, because they're not going to be, you know, managing opportunities that should not be in the pipeline at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. Wow. So Larissa, should we kind of come back to us and maybe we take this down now, the slide. I think there are a lot of questions. Larissa, what are you reading in the feed?
There's a lot going on. So everyone loves this setup. Bite size is so important. The layout, I love this layout in all caps, which is awesome. I want to go back to a question that came in. Can MEDDPICC assist with ghosts, or when ghosts come back?
Ghost?
Yeah, so I see. I saw. You mean I got to go steal? Like it just went dark on you, right? So
yeah.
Well, yes, right. So and so much came to mind when I heard that. But the first one was, I mean, how far into the cycle were you? And if you were ghosted, she even qualified out of that a little bit earlier potentially. But also you're gonna have a good starting point, because if you had been using MEDDPICC, you know, on that deal you got ghosted on, you can have that as a starting point. But if you weren't, I think just applying it is going to probably tell you why you got ghosted in the first place.
So wait, let me understand the question is, how can MEDDPICC and really just kind of good old fashioned curiosity and sales execution help you with ghosting? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Like ghosting.
Yeah, ghosted. Well, yeah. A ghosted deal. You got ghosted on a deal.
Ghosted deal.
Let's just take it
Got it. Okay. Can I add a comment?
Sure.
I love that. So listen, if you're following the methodology and you know, the qualification criteria, and if you're truly curious and you've really uncovered the metrics for the economic buyer, and then if you're really at power, and if you've done a thorough job, like we advise people in the library, and the templates are there with you know, follow-up email recap templates, like if you're really following the process, then, you know, you should not be ghosted. And if you are ghosted, then something's going on, right? And so what I would do is I would dust off that old email and say, you know, hey, John, you know, I know that, you know, things are turbulent right now, but what's changed from when you shared with me that your top priority was ABC? And then listen, you got to pick up the phone, be human, call and go, hey, John, what's going on? And I don't know, Deb and John, what else would you add?
I think that MEDDPICC in general is just a great framework to identify gaps in your deal, and that's a gap in your deal.
Yeah.
And so plain and simple, it's going to help you identify those really easily and quickly. That's for all kinds of surprises that are going to come up in your procurement process and anything. It's just, it's invaluable.
Identify gaps, people are saying. People
Yes.
like that, good way to frame it.
Yeah, that kind of, I mean, it's a gap analysis checklist, right? But it then also gives you the tools to what are the questions? And I would say, how do you move from thinking to knowing, right? Oh, I think this is where I stand in the deal, to move to knowing. I think on that ghosting, picking up what Deb said is the deals that I see get ghosted, both here and in prior lives, whether they're small ASP or they're six-figure ASP deals, when you're getting ghosted, it's because you were never really talking to the right people in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. If you're talking to the right people, you're typically not getting ghosted. And if you do, you could probably find the reason on LinkedIn, or you could find it in a public news source if you were talking to the right folks.
Yeah. You're probably, you think you're talking, oh, sorry, Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing is you may not have, you know, there may not be a big enough problem that needs solving. And we haven't done a good enough job of making it feel like a big problem, or it is a big problem and people walk away. We've got to attach ourselves to big company problems.
Yes. The, you know, like John and Deb both said, you gotta get to those top level priorities, number one. But listen, you may be talking, you know, your teams may be talking to who they think is a champion, but they're really a coach. And, you know, the amount of times I've had someone, yeah, you know, I got budget. And if you're not asking those layering questions to verify, validate if the person you're speaking to really has P&L budget responsibility, and then you're missing an opportunity. So I think it's what a great question. I love that. And so it can help you know if you're going to get, it could probably predict, you know, if, you know, because if you're not really solving a big problem, and if the cost of doing nothing isn't big enough or problematic enough for someone, and if the person that you've been speaking with doesn't really have power, then yeah, you're probably gonna get ghosted because maybe anyway, it's great.
Another good question. What would you say to people in an organization, even senior leadership, who may not see the importance of enabling on MEDDPICC heavily? Some see it as just a qualification tool.
I love that. Deb, take it away.
Yeah, no, it's not just a qualification tool. What people think is they think MEDDPICC is linear, and that you've got to get your little check sheet out and go ME, you know, and go through your letters. It is not a qualification tool. It is, again, a tool for gap analysis. So I think there's been you know, just out there, I've heard that before, where it's a checklist, but not on your first call. It's something that you're going to work on throughout the entire sales process always. So don't think of it as upfront, that SDRs will have their MEDDPICC and go through. That is not what it is at all.
And John, full circle to you started by telling us what your life was like before you actually enabled them on MEDDPICC.
Yeah, right. It was, you know, a lot of deals slipping, a lot of commits slipping.
But you had the fields in Salesforce.
Yeah.
You know, you gave them some links to some stuff. And I'm not trying to diminish the enablement you had ahead of time, right?
Sure. Yeah, right. Right. So I would say it was it lacked a structured program, right? To kind of roll it out to all the teams, from the managers down to the teams, and integrate it with our processes. And the irony of this is, you know, we help companies adopt agile DevOps practices, which is a people, process, and tools proposition. This is the people, process, and tools proposition as well. It's ought to be done the right way, kind of with the right programmatic approach.
Deb, talk a little bit about I'm going to, on that question, right? So let's just go a little deeper. Deb, the magic that happens when you have a team of people where they consume some content ahead of time, and then you bring them together to share, to learn from each other. Talk about that magic, because anyone that says they shouldn't enable, like, what did you just go through yesterday? Like, tell us.
Yeah, well, I think that first of all, I think it's a lot about your ROI too when you're rolling out MEDDPICC, right? If you're doing it in short, bite-sized increments, then you're not spending a whole lot of time learning this, right? So I think why it works is people can go in, they can listen, on their mobile phone if they want. A lot of the managers were listening to, Eli's great videos and stuff, and then it's really, if you want it to sink in, I'm a true believer that you have to have that live coaching session. You really do, where you can share best practices. We had to, yesterday kind of pull the cane on a few of the managers because they were just talking and talking. But that's where the beauty comes in. You can't do that in complete on-demand training. You can't have those conversations with each other, right?
The peer-to-peer is so critical here. So pulling the teams together synchronously, asynchronously, where they can apply the lessons from MEDDPICC that they've learned in the videos, that they've reviewed in the tips in the guides, and then apply it to their deals. And then most importantly, come together in small groups or larger cohorts where they can share ideas, what's working, what's not working. It's called peer accelerated learning. And I know we're getting to the top, Larissa. You got more questions?
I do. Yeah, I've got one for John and one for Deb. So John, your question first. So Amy is curious how the MEDDPICC initiative fits into the overall annual enablement roadmap, i.e. what percentage of your team's time is focused on this initiative?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. It doesn't necessarily stand alone by itself. It's almost incorporated in to everything else that we do, because whatever we're doing, whether it's crafting a new pitch or we got new messaging we're rolling out, that's typically directed towards somebody, and it's understanding what that persona is and what those pains might be. We want them always to be thinking in the context of that holistic framework and how that would actually map into an opportunity and knowing where that opportunity stands. So I kind of look at it as like an underpinning for so much of what we're doing. There's always like the blocking and tackling, like the initial ramp, like Deb talked about. But then it's always part of our operations. So I'm always trying to include it in everything else that we do.
That's great. Thank you.
Great.
And Deb, somehow this question came from me, but it wasn't me asking. There's another Larissa in the audience. Can you talk about the importance of scoring each letter?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. John and I are so in on this.
Favorite topic. It's our favorite topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the deal. Coincidentally enough, we talked and found out we both did this because I think that sometimes your reps, sellers may think, let's use an example, they may think they have metrics, right? And at the end of the day, they don't. So we have come up with, a score where John and I happen to be using 1 to 4. So 1 might be, yeah, you have the metrics, you think you have the metrics. But a 4 would be, you know what? We co-created the metrics together with our customer. It was a collaboration, and they're using these metrics to help sell within the organization. So that's what the breakouts are all about. The managers are going to bring their deals in, their deal sheets, and then they're going to say, am I a 1 or a 2, a 3, or 4? I may be a 1. How do we get to a 4? And that's the discussion in the breakouts yesterday, was how do we go from a 1 to a 4? So John and I feel strongly about this because it's like that next layer of, yes, let's learn what it is, but now let's take our deals and really like how good of metrics do we have? Do we really have a champion? Will our champion take a phone call from us, or a text from us? That's a 4 compared to a 1 where we've identified a champion.
Really, really great insights. Larissa, anything else?
Well, someone asked a question earlier. I've got to paraphrase because I don't think I can find it in the chat, but they were curious to know for each letter, what is the 1 or 2 most important questions to ask?
Oh my God. So here's what we're going to do on that one. We've got all that written in the guides. And so we can ensure folks can request access. We can get you the guides. I think that's going to take a lot longer than 2 minutes to do. It's a fabulous question. And just here's a plug. What we've done with the MEDDPICC library is the following: is we've created 30 videos, And these videos are mapped to the letters and along with some core fundamental skills videos. And those videos are also organized into self-contained training huddles. So you can follow Deb's best practice of doing like a letter, with those sessions. We've also included templates. So that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to follow-up email, competitive battle card, all those kind of templates that you need. And we've created a guide for each. And in the guide for each one, we've included the top 10 questions to ask. And there's a manager coaching guide that has questions they should ask when they're doing their deal reviews. I think I got it all, Deb. I think those are all those. And if anyone's interested in a trial or they want to do a deeper dive demo, listen, you know how to find us. We're going to do a follow-up email. You can click on the button and you can request a private one-on-one session with one of our experts from our team. And I just want to take a moment. I want to thank everyone. Larissa, are we there?
One more quick question came in. I think we could do this. Can MEDDPICC be used? Can MEDDPICC be successfully implemented if another strategy is also being used, i.e. gap selling? Can you merge the two? I'll
let my two colleagues here answer.
You want to go ahead, John? Okay, yes, absolutely. MEDDPICC is, picture it sitting top of what other methodology or sales training you take, whether it's Sandler or selling through curiosity or force management. It really focuses on that first piece, which is the a piece where you can become a master at qualification. And we all know the advantages of being a master at qualification. So that is your first. It's all about qualification. Then your other methodologies will sit on top. Right, John?
Yep. Everyone asks this question about all the managers internally. What we're doing STC. We use spin. What about solution selling? Yes, this goes side by hand in glove with it, 100%.
Great. Thank you.
Fabulous insights. Really, let's just take a moment and I want to, Larissa, thank you for facilitating and getting this all organized. Thank you very much. I want to thank Deb. You are such a beacon of knowledge when it comes to enablement and now sales execution in MEDDPICC. And it's always a pleasure working with you. And we're so grateful that you came in and folks were loving that slide. So we'll make sure that we get that out there. And then John, I want to take a moment and thank you as well. Really, we appreciate you sharing your story, your experience at Copado, and just congratulations on the success. It's a tough market right now and a tough economy. And for you to be able to talk about improvements in win rates, talk time, ASP, participation rates, and having one of the biggest days in the company's history. Kudos.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Kudos. Really want to thank both of you for spending time with us and thank everyone who attended this with us. And if you want more information on MEDDPICC and SalesHood, you can look down below in the replay and you can find that. So with that, we are going to say that's it for now and bye-bye. Have an amazing 23, everyone.